Well, children with autism grow into adults with autism, and those adults will enter a world filled with uncertainties. According to a study from Drexel University, 42% of people in their 20s with ASD are unemployed, and more than 40% of those with a job do not work for pay. Many people with autism are not employed at a level equal to their educational background. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, of adults with autism with a college education, 85% are unemployed. And then, of course, where do adults with autism live? 75% of adults with ASD live at home with parents or family caregivers. That's even as those parents reach their retirement age. Some groups of parents are aiming to solve the housing problem through community building.
I want drink. Good, please. Marla. Great.
12 years ago, we first met Robbie Brothers, then a high schooler, and his parents, they were persevering.
We go days where we go to work all day. He doesn't sleep at night. We team up. You stay up till 3. I'll stay up from 3 to 6.
We were to the point where friends were saying you look physically exhausted, and which meant a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of time on your feet, and I still think we're recovering a little bit.
Today, Robbie's 27 years old.
Finish your apple. Sign it.
And finding Robbie's place remains a journey.
We spoke with the experts and said, don't put this off. But as we jumped in, we realized the options were thin.
There is no housing available unless you are able to afford to pay for that housing day in and day out for the next 90, 80 years, because they'll live for a long time.
Mike and Karen reached out to numerous outlets in search of long-term housing with no real success. Robbie currently lives in a small house with care providers, but it's not a long-term solution. So the Brothers family joined other local families in a shared pursuit.
But how about a community living option where you're not living around just folks who have to be paid to care for you, but neighbors with whom you can maybe develop social connections and live in a way that really does celebrate that humanity that all of us bring.
Mark Dunham works as the project director for All-Inclusive Living. The Brothers family joined with parents and community leaders to form All In, with the task of creating a model community to support adults on the spectrum in a location with close access to transportation, grocery stores, and other basics.
Increase social connectedness. We know that social isolation is a big problem for older adults and people with disabilities. How does housing get leveraged and neighbors get leveraged to actually address that scourge of isolation?
The plan? To create a shared community for people on the spectrum, senior citizens and families in a central location where residents share their gifts.
It's a community that in and of itself looks out for each other.
It's intentional.
Yes, and then is surrounded by a community that looks out for them as well.
The All-In board includes Central Ohio architects, real estate, and business leaders.
I could see it on the faces of the people that they suddenly had a relief that somebody was listening. They didn't have answers, but somebody was listening and going to do something.
You know, we're in the midst of a housing crisis and an affordable housing crisis as it is within the city of Columbus. And now, so in addition to that, you also have a population that desperately needs to be served. And I think that's really what has inspired me with what the work that this board is already doing.
All-Inclusive has launched similar projects in Arizona and Maryland. In Central Ohio, one key sticking point remains.
Well, we've got to find some land.
Land in the right places. Maybe somebody out there has land in one of the locations that we're talking about. A banker, somebody who's involved in construction, who can be passionate about this.
We've got a crisis that's much bigger than one project to fix, and we want to make sure we have a model that can really be replicated moving forward.
This might not be where our son is, but we're not doing it for that reason.
No.
We're doing it because it needs to be done.
Yes.